Okay, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. Sunday, August the 16th, 2026, 11:03 a.m. Uh, Before I ask if we're any questions, I'd like to do something else this morning and come back to our questions. Uh, this week, there was a shooting in Gaffney. Gaffney is a little town, for those of you who may not know, little town, uh, I guess that would be east of Spartanburg. Little community that's known for sports and uh, heavy African population and you know a lot of pride in their sports teams and whatnot, and that's kind of what you know Gaffney for all across the state. But there was a shooting there this week, and there are shootings that take place all the time, but there was something different about this. This is sort of rattled the community differently. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit. A kid was killed and a black kid was killed, African kid was killed, and three other youth, African youth were arrested for the crime. But how it took place was this kid had been bullied. And from what I understand, listening to his mother, he had uh, talked to resource officers at school and whoever the administrators were, and she too had come to the school and so but nothing was done, at least nothing that was visual to them was done. And this kid was shot at a bus stop while other kids on the school bus witnessed it. And it kind of really ruptured the community, not just Gaffney, but I think here, and I even think that because of our efforts, the sensitivity is sort of high right now. The energy is sort of high, and a lot of people are saying enough is enough. But this has been felt pretty strongly. And I was at a restaurant the other day, and this woman, this elderly, she may have been in my age group, I guess, uh, Caucasian woman. And I say that because this has never happened to me before. Uh, but she gets up from her table to come to my table and talk about this. And she kept talking and talking. And finally, she said at the end, that kind of got my attention. She said, enough is enough. What are we going to do about this? And I got to admit, I sat there and listened to her talk, but those words kind of echoed to me. What are we going to do about this? Because not only the violence in the upstate, I'm sure is wherever you may be as well, but this one just kind of stuck out. This something a little different about it. It may be because of all where we are and all the things that's going through. But any opinions about this, or have you heard about it, and what are your feelings on it?
Ron, I
Yes,
will
ma'am.
say I heard about it, I read about it. It's a conversation we had at work this week about it, more about how devastating it is. And I guess we were all left with the question, what are we supposed to do? What can we do? So I feel the energy that's behind this is what I want to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I say something, Ron?
Of course. Yeah.
Um, like when I saw it, because it happened right around, the 12th and the 13th, while everything we were going on, and that was like it's kind of ironic because I was thinking about that was one of the things that I was kind of beating myself up about. That I was like, here I am thinking about manifesting for myself, and this is something that I should be dealing with. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so when I saw it on the news, I immediately first I had to kind of chastise myself, and after the beating up and and forgiving myself and coming back to reality, I was like, okay, what are we gonna do about this? I said, I want whoever did this, one, to be brought to justice, and two, a couple things started standing out because I started looking up the little boy and looking up the other young men who had done it, and then I was hearing things from talking to people from Gaffney, and I heard a lot of stories, and people were telling me about the kids on the bus and how they seen it and how they would be traumatized for the rest of their life and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and I noticed something like whenever a black child is killed, they always go to a picture. They always pull the worst picture they can find of the young person. And I used to get angry, and I'm like, why couldn't they find another picture? But this time, it kind of made me realize, like, before everything happens, we see signs. Like, it's signs and things that show us. Like, 'cause it was two particular pictures that they had of this young man. One particular picture he had on a shirt. The young man that was killed, he had on a shirt that said, "In Draco we trust." And if no, for most of y'all who don't know what a Draco is, a Draco is a assault rifle. And that just bugged me because every time they would show his picture on the news, they would show that picture, that black T-shirt, and eventually people in the comments complained about it so much that the news started blocking the words out on his shirt. And then they found another picture of him, and the other picture he had on a white T-shirt, and on the front of the shirt it said, "I don't want to grow up." And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and the first thing I thought about, I was like, the power of our words, and not only his words and the messages that we put out, but the messages we put out personally, and not and in this process of us learning to speak life over ourselves, we got to be aware and speak life over everybody else, because we're not doing this just so we can make our lives better. We're doing this for humanity.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that, and I said, like every time we see these pictures of young people getting killed, it's always signs and something we could have said, because I'm not saying this kid that got killed was a bad kid, but at the same time, it should have been some talks and some conversations held in all those families affected, because not only the young man lose his life, those other three men have lost their lives as well.
Yeah.
And so, and I, like, you would hear people talk about the kids' fathers, and like, it's all kind of rumors about, they talked about the parents of the kids who did the murder and things like that. And I said, this is a conversation, and I mean, I was thinking to myself then, this is a conversation we need to have, and here we are having it now. But that's all.
Thank you, Don. You brought up some interesting things that maybe we can address in a few minutes here, but I want to see if anybody else any thoughts. Chuck, are you here? Because you're the one, you also called me and made me give this a lot of thought too.
Yes, man. I'm here. And when I called and told you about it, when they were talking about those three guys, they were hurting my heart because these little young fellows didn't understand what they brought across. Not only that, the new young fella that shot the young boy, I'm thinking, there was something in that young guy's life, and not only that, they were just killing themselves too, because they lost their life by by doing that killing. But it's just like we always said, you are me and me are you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was looking at that. And I mean, I understood that more than anything. And then when they caught, before they caught the guy, one was in corn cart and trying to get away, knocking on people's door and asking people to help him, give him some water. They couldn't do anything because if you aid in the bed, you'd have been in trouble too. So the only thing they could do was call the cops. And they picked him up, and the other guy, they picked him up. I don't know where they picked him up, but the other younger guy, he was in Spartanburg when they picked him up. And when they put him in the office, the detectives and stuff go to talking, trying to find out the situation. Once he talked it, then he told them, "Can I go now?" Like
he asked if he could go.
He asked them that, "Can I go now?" And he was nonchalant of what had happened. And I mean,
I don't think he thought of the severity of. What you say, Don?
I'm
just going to say,
I believe they caught one of them at school. One of them went to school that morning after the murder.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. One of them went back to school. But speaking of what you're saying, Charles, I don't think he realized the severity of what he had done.
Right.
He didn't. He's still stung of the situation, what he did. I mean, it's just like a little child get burnt. He holler and cry, but he starts thinking about that burnt me later.
Yeah.
And so until, like Don said, until we stand up in this gap like we're doing now and doing something about it, like you ain't got to do a whole lot of marching. I mean, sometimes marching, open the door, but this thing now, it ain't back like it used to be. Marching, getting in the crowd, putting up signs and stuff, protesting. I mean, this is a spiritual battle. If you can't see it, you walking blind.
And that's the key, Charles. We're walking blind. We can't see. And the scripture talks about Jesus opening up blind eyes. That's what it's talking about. And we still don't see that. But thank you. Anyone else?
Yes,
Ron, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Grand Rising family, I just wanted to say, Ron, this is Kathy, that
Kathy.
everything that you're describing, that's what we've all been looking at. And the thing that we found out later is the young man who was murdered was actually a relative of one of our former church members that went to Greater New Faith. And in talking with them, they were just really devastated, of course, by everything that happened. And like you all were saying, one went to school. They didn't say where they picked up the other one. And the other one that he fled the scene and went into the woods and was in Concord hiding. And it was really, you got to remember, it was really, really hot. And he was up there running, and finally they caught him. But I think the severity of it is what they don't understand is that, one actually said, the one they got at school, that he had no idea that when they went to the bus stop to fight this young man, that he was going to end up being killed. And so he thought that, I didn't pull the trigger. But what they don't understand with the law is that the hand of one is the hand of all. So now all three will be implicated for child endangerment, murder, all those different things, because you're shooting someone in the back of the head getting on the bus in front of 12 or 15 other students who are on the bus. The bus driver, I understand, had to be taken to the hospital because she had a complete breakdown. And she just, was so traumatized because he was entering the bus right where she's sitting when this happened. And the kids, of course, trying to get off the bus, but didn't know if they should get off the bus because there are going to be more bullets when they got off the bus. So it was a very chaotic scene. But when we go back to what should we do, I guess as I'm listening and thinking about this, because this has been the talk the whole week, because most of us, Linda and I are from Gaffney, let me put it that way. So we know Gaffney, we grew up there. And murders happen quite a bit, but this one, like you said, it hit differently. But when you ask, what should we do? Do not negate the fact that you're already doing it. Yeah. I find it ironic that last night as I was preparing to go to bed, I picked up my phone and this whole litany of this whole saga of what is Maat and how to establish Maat. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, this is what we've been talking about. This is what we're doing. We're doing it already. I know there are casualties of war as we are doing what we do, but his life is not in vain because look at what it's bringing to the forefront. It's making us look at this and say, what can we do? We are doing it. We are already doing it by what we're learning. I'm hearing you all say, I want manifestation for me, but if you dig deeper and look at what manifestation, what you're looking at, you really are already looking at manifestation for humanity and not just ourselves. Yeah, we know that it starts with us, but we need to get in the right headspace and understand who we are and walk in that. But what this did for me, and I can only speak for me, and understanding, because in my meditation, I always say I walk in and breathe out manifestation. That's what I am doing in my when I am sitting in my meditation and manifesting what? The principles of Maat. And so as you begin to look at that, we're not just saying for our own lives, we are establishing the principles of Maat worldwide because the world is sick. The world is hurting. We look at one child in Gaffney, but when you look at the mass murders that the rich are performing every day, and all of these things, we just kind of have become desensitized to that, and it's kind of dull. We know it's happening, and we talk about it, but we're like, yeah, the rich are always coming up with ways through our food or through vaccines and through all of these different things to kill people. But we are addressing all of that through what we're doing, if I'm seeing this correctly. And correct me if you don't see it that way, but I feel very deeply that we're already doing it. And I don't think that it was an accident that this lady came to you to say, what are we going to do about this? Because she came to Elohim asking, what are you going to do? And though she would not have understood an answer that you would have given her, you're already doing it. By the fact that we're showing up on this phone, we're learning who we are, we're walking in that, and we're breathing out and manifestation, and our journey is about manifestation. We're walking in manifestation when we understand who we are. But in that video last night, and I fell asleep listening to it because it was long, and I plan to look at it today, it explained Maat to me in a way that I had never seen it before, and I don't want to get into it because I don't remember enough of it to try to share these things, but I feel like that is what we are already establishing, and we're doing it. So I don't discount the things that we're doing on this phone and the things that we do day to day in our lives, because we are looking at what is best for all of humanity and not just ourselves, even though it starts with us getting it right. Because if we can't get it right, then humanity doesn't have a chance. But I feel that we're already doing it. And I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Grand Rising family, where does there's order in chaos fit with what we're doing? Or just in general, as we meet or when we don't meet on the phone, when we go about our daily lives, what we're doing line up with there's order in chaos? Because that's what I was thinking about when Kathy was speaking. So that's my question.
Ron, can I say something on the heels of that?
Yes.
The thing I remember something that we said a long time ago, and I kind of got upset with myself about saying it because I didn't know the extent or the power when we said it. One time, Pastor told us we had made like a covenant, a declaration, whatever it takes for us to remember, whatever it takes. And whatever it takes for mankind to remember who they are. And when yesterday we were talking about good and evil, positive and
Call
negative,
will be recorded.
and realizing knowing that there is no negative, there's no good and evil, bad and good, that it is only balance. Everything brings balance. And when I think about this, and it may sound cold-hearted, but if whatever it takes for people to wake up. Sometimes it may take just a conversation for somebody to wake up, but sometimes it takes tragedy. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes it takes tragedy. And because if everything was good, most people would not even look at their lives. Most people would never ever question anything going on in their life if it was not for friction and tragedy. And so I think I hope it doesn't take more things like this for people to wake up. But for some people, it will actually, it's going to have to be something dramatic in order for them to stop and be still and actually look. But that's all.
And on the heels of what you're saying, Don, that's what I meant by casualties of war. When we talk about spiritual warfare, that's what I mean. There will be casualties of war. But instead of wringing our hands now and saying, this is terrible, this keeps happening, what can we do? We're realizing what we do. And back to, I think that may have been Evelyn's question about the order in chaos. We are the order in chaos. And that's what hit me from listening to the tape last night, because it talked about the principles of Maat, and where there is no established principle, where there are no established principles of Maat at work, then what you are left with is chaos. And it's no accident that when we started this journey, I guess it's been a couple of years ago now, looking at a Kabulon and being introduced, and I think George and others introduced us, and Pastor, of course, to the principles of Maat. And it's not something that you memorize. Through the Akashic consciousness, it's awakened in you in the situations that you find yourself in the way you see things happen around you. And you address those things in your meditation and sitting with these things in meditation. We are bringing order to chaos. We are that order in chaos. And if we fail to be that order, then chaos reigns supreme, from what I understood of listening last night to that. But I've been feeling that way all along for quite some time. If we don't bring the order, then there is no order. And it's no accident that we were purposed for this time when things seem to be in my lifetime, this is the worst I've ever seen anything be. I mean, I don't remember things being so blatant and in your face, and the hatred and the violence and the unjust and all the things that seem to appear to be going on. We are here to correct those things. That's what we are purposed here to do, and that's what we are doing. And so I don't want us to be discouraged and lose sight of that, because we really are doing it. And things will happen that will grab our attention and bring it to the forefront that this is really bad, because like we were saying, not one person lost their life at that bus stop, but 4 people. The other 3 kids did too. And all of those families have been impacted. And we feel that deeply. But instead of saying, this is so hard, what do we do? It should be a call to action to do what we do and do it with more vigor, and to be intentional about our meditation, and to sit in the presence and absorb the energy. But I want to share this before we move forward. I didn't say this yesterday, but when we talked about what went on what we experienced during all this time with the Lions Gate and the cosmic energy that was at play with everything that went on this past week. The thing that hit with me on Wednesday morning was the storm that rolled in that no meteorologist had even looked at. Nobody saw that on the radar. And it came in, and it was one of the most fierce storms I've ever encountered. And as I was sitting in my den, I cracked the blinds so that I could see the fierceness of the lightning. And I just sat there, and all I could hear was, this energy is you. They don't see you coming. They can't predict how you're going to move, but this is the energy of the cosmos that is you. And I sat there and absorbed that energy to the point where I felt like my body was reverberating. And I'm just like, okay, this is for us, because had it been a predicted storm, I would have just seen it as one more storm. But all of the cosmic activity that's going on right now, I see that as a reminder to tell us this is the energy that you're connected to. You don't have to worry about a collider. You don't have to worry about the chaos that appears to be going on, because you have the wisdom and the wisdom of the ancestors and the power and the energy of the universe, of the cosmos, to bring order to chaos. And I absorbed that. And when I went into my meditation the very next morning, same thing, reverberating, vibrating at a frequency I've never vibrated at before. And I feel like that was a sign that most of us may have missed because we were busy looking for one thing. But when this other thing rolled in, we may not have realized that was a sign to us too. This is the energy and the power that you are. Don't minimize who you are, and don't feel like you're helpless. You got this. And that's what I walked away with, as everything that went on. I was tired and sleepy from getting up, trying to see stuff. But when I stopped trying to see something and looked with my eye at a storm, I saw me. And as a result of that, I feel more energized to be able to handle the things that we see that are going on right now. And I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Okay.
Very powerful. Yes, I'll
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Evelyn, did Kathy answer your question? Are you okay?
I am. She did more. She did a lot. She sounded like Pastor while she was addressing my question. And what I see is also, because Don also mentioned this, that we're to take our thoughts off of us and just realize that we're here for the world. And yeah, she said a lot, and it makes so much, it resonates, I'll say. It resonated with me. So I'm just grateful. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome, and thank you for that question, Evelyn. Thank you.
Angela, I think you had something. We don't want to miss anybody.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I did I saw that that it happened, and I was just like, it's enough. It did bring back memories, took me back, but enough is enough. And I was also thinking about too the full moons. When we do have full moons, how some people look at full moons as chaos. I know we know that full moons are not chaos, where people just, feel like the energy of the moon allows them to, I'm not saying it just because me myself too, I did, before I was a little bit more aware of the moon, I did look at the moon as just ravaged energy. And I remember right before this happened, we was talking about the moon before we left work, and the lady was saying, yeah, people get out there and act crazy. But I was just thinking about the moon because this is the second one that I know of killing that happened on a full moon. And then how can we change to where it's not, where we all, not just the ones on the line, but the other ones too, receive and know that the moon is not for just people out there just doing things that they shouldn't do, or just feel like their emotions just, I'm trying to get out what I'm trying to say, if anybody know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I will say this, and maybe someone else can answer because I can't. I'm looking at the moon from a spiritual perspective, and you're right. A crime does increase during the summer months, and but I don't know about the moon part. Personally, I don't. I've heard that, but I don't know how to speak to it. And if somebody else knows that, if you have any uh spiritual information or any data on that at all, please help us out here. Because I can't, I do know it increases as the heat rises like this, but I don't know. And I've heard that as well, Angela, but I've never uh had that confirmed inside of me that I know that to be factual. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? About the relationship between the violence and the cycles of the moon. The one thing that happened this week that I thought was kind of made me look at this and kind of like a stay tuned sort of thing. What's next is in the midst of all of that the cosmic energy bursting forth, there was a new moon that came out of it, and I thought that was kind of interesting. That was the part that nobody really spoke about. So, anybody?
Hey, Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
the new moon is the dark one, the one you can't see. So
Oh,
there wasn't a full moon these last few days. It was a new moon. So and we generally talk about the new moon as being wisdom. Um, so I think Kathy kind of relayed the wisdom
yeah,
that she's gained these last few days. Um, so, and I think even the chaos is part of gaining new wisdom. So anyway, I can't really speak to, I know as a teacher, we always said that, if it's a full moon, then we can expect certain behaviors from children. Um, but that's all anecdotal.
yeah.
That's not really scientific.
Mr. Ron, I would like to add something.
Of course, yes, ma'am.
Don't know, not trying to take away from the situation that happened in Gaffney, but I saw an article how there was a school shooting in, I think, Taiwan, and you don't hear about those type of countries having those violence. So I don't think that it's just happening like locally. I think we have to kind of look at the broader picture and saying what's going on, heck, globally. So just over to you guys.
Great observation, and that's the point of this, Myra, is someone mentioned, I think Dawn mentioned consciousness, and I don't think, as Kathy was explaining, what I got out of some of what she said, it is not so much the consciousness of the earth. I don't think the earth has reached that point yet. I think it is the consciousness of the people on this phone. You know more. You are aware of spiritual things more than anybody else in the earth. This is an awakening to us. So yes, it does happen in all of the earth, and it's just as serious. But I think this one, part of the reason that this one hit home is so it would rattle us. Look at who you are. Look at who you are. Look at everything that you have. And something Nick said yesterday, and I think we all kind of echoed, at least I did. He was talking about the energy and all the stuff that was going. This is what I got out from what he said. Part of what he said was, now I have to look at me. What do I need to do to go forward? What do I need to do and it made me think of that verse, flesh and blood cannot enter the kingdom. So we it because this whole thing made me look at myself as well. And I think what we are being shown here is, look at who you are. And yes, you are still working on yourself, but you are the consciousness. You are the connection to the spiritual world. You are the consciousness and the connection to what we study in Kemet and the principles of Maat. So I look at this as something that is personal to the people on this phone. And that is kind of how I see it. And I think that is what I hear you all saying too. This is something I think Audrey hit the nail on the head. When that woman said that to me, I knew what she meant, but I did not know how to answer her, because if I had answered her, I probably would have confused her. But I'm thinking, okay, answering her is not as important as doing, as the action. So I agree. We're doing this now, and uh, uh, I think, well, the last couple of weeks, someone said something about bringing the macro and the micro together. To me, that's talking about collapsing time and bringing all of this to a point where we recognize who we are, and we are the now. We are not yesterday. We are not tomorrow. We are now. And I agree with everything that you said. This is Evelyn, chaos in the middle of peace. That ain't what you said, but that's what the word I'm gonna use for right now. And we are the ones that brings peace to this. We are the ones that bring a calmness to it. But I think this happened like this to awaken us, or to let us know you're still trying to get ready, but you're ready.
And Ron,
Right.
I'm wondering if that answered Evelyn's question. Did she realize that you're putting it in the macro, and it will come? Understand? Because out of this tragedy and all that people have seen, this chaos that's going on, people are now awakening and searching, like, how do we stop this?
Yeah.
They will begin to draw answers from the macro where we're putting things. And I'm hoping that helps you to understand that. Not Evelyn, I'm sorry, Angela. I'm hoping that you heard that answer in the midst of everything we're saying, because everything that we're saying is explaining it. But I wanted to just make certain we didn't overlook you, and make certain that you heard the answer to your question.
Thank you.
You got it? Okay, thank you.
I was listening to a video yesterday myself, and this guy was talking about the DNA of not just Africans, but African American. And what he was explaining was our DNA is filled with trauma, and all the things we have witnessed, all the things we have seen, all the things we have been through, that makes us different than anybody else on the planet. And some of the stuff I was driving along, and you kind of get distracted a little bit. I'll have to go back and listen to it again. But it made me think, I cannot imagine being 13, 12, 14, 15 sitting on a school bus and seeing one of my classmates, one of my kids I see every day, get shot in the back of the head. Those things aren't supposed to happen. And the trauma those kids must be facing. So I'm hoping they get some type of counseling, some kind of release. If not, that is part of what I desire as we discuss this thing. Not only that, but what Myra said, the kids, this things that are happening globally. There is nothing too big for God. Absolutely nothing. And I think that's part of what this discussion is all about.
Ron, I see it as a wake-up call for everybody, even the teens that were on the bus, those who witnessed the situation. It's a wake-up call for all of us.
Yeah, I agree.
And Ron, on the heels of what you said, Pastor said something that really resonated with me when we were talking about those children possibly having PTSD or something from what they saw. He said, and I hadn't thought of it this way, but he said, it doesn't have to be that way because we can change the parameters of that. And I said, Ashe, and left it alone. And so I'm saying it doesn't have to be that way because we can change the parameters. They may always remember, but it doesn't have to be traumatizing to the point where PTSD and all of these not being able to function again and all of these things begin to happen in their lives because we forget what we're doing sometimes and who we are in these tragedies. And I totally had forgotten because I was thinking these babies are going to have PTSD. And he's like, nah, not necessarily. It depends on what we do with what we know. And I just wanted to share that.
Kathy, that's an excellent example of the answer you gave, the hour being the order and the chaos. We can change what potentially could be the chaos. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you for saying that because, Bob, I had not even seen it that way. So thank you. Thank you.
Kathy and Barbara, I have a question. Does that also include that we had said that 4 people lost their lives, that we can also alter that the 3 that are still living, that their lives would not necessarily be lost? Does that include that too?
I really believe it does, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm thinking is the law of the land will still be enforced because it's the law of the land.
Right.
But even with the law of the land being enforced, it doesn't mean that wherever they are, they can't be enlightenment and change things around them too.
Thank you.
And I hope that resonates.
It does. It does.
Miss
Thank you.
Kathy,
Uh-huh.
does that also apply to the person that lost their life? Because he's now an ancestor. And I know Pastor talked about people that they may have inflicted pain on others here. Not saying that he did. On the other side, they were able to see things in a different light and change it. Does that also apply to the gentleman, the young child that lost his life?
And I'm going to use the example to answer that, use the example that Pastor told us of a preacher that did a lot of things that were not necessarily the right thing to do. And when they died, he saw that preacher not receiving any peace. He saw that preacher being stuck between 2 worlds, so to speak, and he released him. Based on your question, Myra, I guess I'm going to answer your question with a question. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to say it this way, based on what you're asking and based on what Pastor has said. If we choose to release him and bring order, I say yes, because if he's stuck, then we, with the compassion that we are seeing in the conversations that we're having now, we have the authority to release him. And we don't always think about that sometimes.
Yeah,
Well,
you're right.
And I'd love for someone else to chime in if you see more.
I say Ashe to that. Ashe.
Ashe.
I agree. Excellent point.
Can I add something, Ron, right quick?
Okay.
I was thinking about what Kathy just said, and I didn't want to let it fly by, let it, because Kathy said and evolve. And the law of the land will prevail, like, because this is the, you know what I mean? But I was thinking about something when we were talking about, I was reading something about the Lionsgate portal, and this guy was saying, you know, everybody want to make this about luck and abundance, and he was like, it is. He said, but also, he said, the most important thing about the eclipse and the portal is the portal makes us come face to face with us and stop living the illusion and stop performing and to be who we are really meant to be. And when I think about the hand of one being the hand of all, that just doesn't pertain to those three young men. That pertains to the community, because the community is just as at fault as those young men are. Because, like, when you get what I'm saying, like those young men somewhere around the community failed those young men. It's not just their fault, because they're just like we talked about. The young man thought he could go home after he got through talking, after he told the police what he needed to tell them. We failed that young man because that young man did not know. He didn't know any better. And that has also forced us to have this conversation. And so those tough things that happen bring us to a place where we like, okay, just like that lady said, she came to you and said, what are we going to do? She would not be coming. She wouldn't have came to you if this had not happened. And people would not, and this portal did exactly what it was supposed to do. It brought us to a place where we were going to have to stop. Not just us on the phone, but everybody. And those tragedies bring us to a place where, and we're seeing that time speeds up. Time is speeding up, and things and thoughts and consequences, things happen so fast. And so this thing that happened, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And it's tragic, but it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It made us have these conversations, and now moving forward, we are more aware of what we need to do so these things don't happen again. And at the same time, those young men and those people on that bus, their lives are transformed, and not and just like Pastor said, it doesn't have to be in a negative way. It could be in a way where it prevents them from ever making that same mistake, and change their lives. That they may, when they come in contact with somebody else, they may change their lives and be like, don't do that. Let's not do that. I've seen how this is going to turn out. And so, but that's all.
Yeah, that was kind of what I meant, Don, when I was talking about consciousness. I saw that T-shirt and I did not know what it meant, and I had no idea it was talking about an assault rifle. So that talks about the things that he was aware of as well. So our meditation and part of our responsibility is not just because of the shooting, but what led up to it, and the state of mind of mankind right now. That is wow. You're absolutely right. So that's a big responsibility. But guess what? That's who we are. That's who we are. Can I read something to you? Is there anybody else? I don't want to.
I'm gonna share a personal experience.
Okay.
I have been this hit home to me because my 14-year-old son has been bullied for some time, and this is our route. The way this young man was gunned down is our route to school. We actually have an ongoing situation right now that he's been experiencing all summer. And I can personally relate to the mom that feels helpless because we have taken every avenue we've known. We went to the principals. This child assaulted my son the last week of school. We went to the principal. the day before the assault. We talked to him. I felt rushed, and I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel listened to. But I looked in his eyes and I told this man, please keep this child away from my son. He left him a message. We had evidence, proof on the phone. He looked at me right in my eyes and told me that he would do just that. He didn't notify any of my son's teachers. He didn't notify any of the staff that would be like in the hallways, at the bus port. This child assaulted my son the very next day in the car line being picked up. When his dad went to pick him up, he just noticed that our son wasn't present. One of our sons was present and the other one wasn't, which is a lot younger. He didn't witness the assault, but he heard about it within passing, I guess. And so the point I'm making is when I met with him, his words to me were, after the assault, his words to me were, I wish he had come to me. And I said, don't do that. I said, because we came to you not once but twice. And for children in this day and age to even speak up and speak out, that takes courage. Because if you're a child that's already been taunted and bullied, sometimes that brings on more taunting and bullying. So just for him feeling comfortable enough to speak to me, because we had past instances of this. I actually homeschooled him. So this was our first year back, getting into the groove of socializing. And he made the basketball team, honor roll student, beta club. So I felt good that he was able to maintain his confidence in school and learning outside of these other adversities that he was experiencing. So we went fresh start, new school. But the sad part about it is this child that has, been harassing my son all summer since the fight and was bullying him up until the fight. His parents are both products of society. Mom is in prison. Daddy is back and forth in prison. And his grandmother is his guardian. So after I found out about the harassment this summer, I contacted the grandmother. She didn't even have words. I told her, what steps, the next steps I was going to take. And as a mom, a guardian, I would want to know. So I was, letting her know in hopes of, to be honest, of her talking to this child, because even though he's been bothering my child, I had sympathy for him because I know he's a product of his environment. And with these other boys, with what just happened, it just resonated with me because children of that age, their brains are not even fully developed to reason. That's why when they do things and the consequences are laid out, it's like they're living outside of their body. They can't believe it because in that moment, they don't even have the capacity to reason. To if I do this, then this is going to happen. So it's a sad situation all the way around with the what happened with these children, because even though I feel bad for the child that was murdered, I still, in some sense, feel really bad for the children that did it because they didn't have, and that's the one thing I say to the administrators. I'm not coming to you because I'm worried about what my child will do. I'm coming to you because I'm worried about these other children. Because when my child comes home, I know how I'm conditioning him. I'm teaching him that your main muscle is not physical, it's mental. But we don't know what is happening on the other side of the spectrum. That's where, in the school system anyway, that's how they're feeling these children. They have a fight, they suspend them, they discipline both in the same capacity, and then when it's time to come back, they right back to school. There's no therapy in between that. There's no ways of teaching them how to resolve There's no reconciliation. You got these two children or multiple children that are going to be in the same halls again. They're going to be in the same classrooms again. There's nothing in between. And I've asked them that, and I never get answers. I tell them we teach our children how to prepare for tornadoes. We teach them how now to prepare for intruders. We teach them, we do fire drills. How do we teach our children to react if they're being actively attacked or if they're being bullied and taunted? Everybody says, just come to me. Well, most children don't just come to you. And my son has an open relationship with me where he felt comfortable coming to me. But when you have parents that are saying, you know, you're a punk if you do this and you do that, you know, I opened my arms to my son and said, cry. Just cry it out. It's okay for you to cry. He hugged me for probably 15 minutes and cried because after that altercation, he felt like he let himself down because it happened again. But after talking to Reverend Richard, I realized that what's happening now is going to shed more light on what is happening to my son. And like he told me, it had to happen to us because I'm that parent that is going to be able to be bold enough to stand up and advocate for my son. I'm also that parent that can articulate what I mean and what I'm saying and where it can go across all diversities. That's the problem a lot of times. They don't listen to all parents. And parents need to do better. You have to have those conversations with your sons because my son didn't even realize that, you know, kids his age actually carry guns because that's not his normal. So when you have children in those different sides of the spectrum, you have to condition them to what's out there too. So we have all of those types of conversations in our home. And really and truthfully, I don't know if we would have been having those conversations had he not experienced what he experienced. But he is he was emotional after the situation because I think it resonated with him as well. But with this group of people, with what I've learned, with my maturity and development, I'm able to guide my child in the way he should be. Mm-hmm. And it was embarrassed at first to talk about it to people because like, oh gosh, here we go again. You know, that's how they were making me feel. Like, we told you. I mean, why are you here? You know, you just another black woman, another black little boy. And I tell them, I say, I don't know what you're used to, but I'm not that parent, and this is not that kid. And the first thing they do is pull up his grades. And that's why I always tell my son, all my children, always be able to represent yourself well on paper before you can walk in the room because most times that's how they judge our children before they can even enter the room. And the first thing they say is, well, we're not used to seeing these type of grades. So they already put your children in a box and they don't really take it seriously. So that young man was being bullied, but because of where he lived, most likely, and I don't know the maturity of his mother, but she wasn't heard and they weren't taken seriously. So I'm taking this not only personally for my son, I'm also taking this personally for all of those other mothers that don't know how to go about having being an advocate for their child. But I just wanted to share that. It took a lot out of me to share that. But after talking to Reverend Richard on the day of the event, he helped me know and helped me realize that this had to happen to us. And that's it. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Grand Rising, Brother Ron.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Sir.
Grand Rising family. You started our session speaking about the incident that occurred in Gaffney. You know, and I'm truly grateful for all that has been expressed thus far. And living, you know, in Philadelphia, you know, our children, you know, are now preparing to go back to school. And I think that, I know that healing is transpiring right now. based on just what have been said. And as we, appreciate being able to understand that there's rules that we live by, there's laws that we live by, there's things that we're governed by. But as Kathy mentioned and others, over a period of time, we talked about the principles of Maat.
Yeah.
And in the conversations that we've had, Ron, you brought it up yesterday in terms of balance. Evelyn mentioned in terms of order. We talk about truth. We talk about justice. We talk about harmony. And our desire and the signals and the vibrations and frequencies that are being sent out right now is bringing healing to the universe. And as someone mentioned, sometimes we may not see it, but it's manifested. It's happening. And this is how, we need to just be conscientious about putting that out there in the macro, that we don't have to say it exactly like someone else, but just be who you are, and your aura will change things. How you express or how you touch or how you feel. And I'm just so grateful, as I mentioned, in terms of what has been said thus far. And I think this is, again, just us being who we are, to know that you have the power to change things. And it may not be exactly the way that we think it's supposed to be, but our ancestors, the Creator, is guiding us, and we just need to just stay the course and appreciate one another, love one another, be sensitive to the wrongdoings in that way, that when we have empathy, that's the ability to be able to understand someone else's experiences and their attitude or whatever might be the misdoing, but being able to, again, face it in terms of being able to, how do we walk our family members through it. And so I just want to just say, I'm grateful for the conversation today and the conversations that we have all the time. So thank you so much, everybody, just for being who you are. And as we continue to walk in the gods that we are, let us again just continue to reach out to others when we can. Ron, thanks for letting me share my thoughts, man.
Thank you, brother.
Can I say something on the heels of that, Ron?
Yes, sir.
I don't know who that was that was talking with that was speaking about their child, but I want to thank them for bringing it up, because one thing that we can do, especially not just for her child, but is stand in the gap so these things won't happen. As far as them being bullied and things like that, and stand in the gap so she can know that she's not in this alone, and that if there are other people who have they're putting their energy and their frequency on this not happening again. And so we can stand in the gap. Now that we know it, and she brought it to our attention, going forward, she won't have to go through it alone, because we will stand in the gap with her. So that's all.
Those were some of the words I wanted to echo as well. I think it took a lot of courage for her to say all that and open up about this thing, and the severity of it is not an isolated thing, but it seems to be pretty common, but it's not acceptable. And when we talk about standing in the gap, and when we talk about our energy and standing as one, because we talk about that all the time, standing as one, that's really meant. And it's in a spiritual thing. And one of the things I was listening to the sheriff of the county say the other day, they were interviewing the sheriff, and he said, he was talking about the mom saying she had talked to people at the school, including the resource officer, and nobody did anything. And he said that too would be part of our investigation. So I hope that not only our mom here and our moms, but other moms will recognize, hey, let me go back to these people. Because if they're going to investigate this conversation, they need to know that I also had a similar conversation on behalf of my children, and get somebody to, because if you don't want to take the responsibility of being a school administrator or a principal or resource officer, why are you there? So if you're not going to do your job, you need to be replaced. That's just on a, the thought I had when he said that that was going to be part of their investigation. I will hope that means that there will be action taken at that level as well. So I agree. We stand together on this. We stand together, not just in upstate or in South Carolina, but universally. We stand for what's right. We stand for humanity. We stand for Maat and those principles to live by. Anyone else? I don't want
Ron,
to.
this is Evelyn. Audio.
Thank you, Evelyn. I'd like to thank the lady that brought that out. And I don't know, how things will be changing in school about the bullies, because bullies been going on for centuries. And
Charles,
because
hold on
I've
right
been
there
bullied.
for a minute. Charles, I don't mean to be rude. I'm gonna let you finish in a minute. Nothing we
All
ever
right.
say, nothing that we ever talk about, we know how it's going to happen. But when we say that, that weakens our frequency. That's not for us to know. I'm not even worried about that portion of it. Because you're right, it's been going on for centuries, but it's time for it to stop. There is nothing on the face of the earth stronger than what we do. Do y'all believe that?
Yes.
Yes, Ashe.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So
Okay.
you're absolutely right. But let us not say we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have to. We just know something's going to happen. We're going to happen. We stand on who we are, and we stand strong because we are one. Okay, didn't mean to interrupt you, but let's just want to make sure that we see this the right way and understand our position. Chuck.
And not only that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking they need to have the guidance of teachers and the officers that's in the school, and and the principal's the one that has the biggest stick. They need to sit down with the parents and them children and talk it through, talk it over, find out what's going on, and then make a situation where it either stop or they have to do something else better than what they're doing now. I have another question, but I'll tell you that when we finish the questions about what went on about the children and stuff.
Okay. Thank you, though, Charles. Miss Evelyn.
Yes. Thank you. Ron, sound like you were saying you're talking about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Columbia, Sheriff Leon Lott has a program in place where he's making parents accountable for their children's actions, because he was saying a lot of these kids are out here doing activities, criminal activities, and the parents don't even know where the kids are. Some of the parents don't even care. But to me, I see sometimes it's a catch-22, because if a parent try to chastise their child or tell them they can't go anywhere, okay, they're going to call the police, and then the police going to take the parents to jail. So I do like the fact that they are holding these parents, some of them, accountable for their children's actions. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
And I appreciate that. All of that, God, man, all of that falls under our umbrella. Uh, this is not something to take lightly, but it has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, even uh, the brutality in the earth. All of it comes from greed and just violence and being brutal and not loving each other and not caring and you have what I want and I'm gonna take it. And parents anymore, uh let's face it, if you live in poverty, you're trying to survive, and you don't have those one-on-one times with the children like you should. So in their own way, they are victims as well. So all of that falls under what we are trying to, not trying, what we are addressing here today. I have bought into what we're doing, and I know you have too, or you wouldn't be here. So what this thing gonna look like, it doesn't even matter. That event, that cosmic event, events that took place this week was not only a reminder of to us, but it is a message to keep on keeping on. Keep going in the direction that you're doing. This is the energy that you need. As Kathy talked about the power of the storm, and this is who you are. This is the storm that you are, not the uncontrollable part of it, but look at the energy. This was a display of energy. So, you know, the parents, the poor children, everybody here is a victim, but there's a right way and a wrong way to treat each other. And that's what we're addressing as well. So, but thank you. And I agree with that. Like the parent, I can't remember what state that is, that bought his kid an assault rifle and the kid shot somebody with the rifle. Well, guess what? The dad going to jail too. So and rightfully so. And you're not even a hunter, and you're going to buy your what was it 15, 16? Because I think the kid was 15 when he first bought the rifle. Why would you buy an assault rifle for a child? So, but enough is enough. But thank you.
Ron, I'm so grateful to hear what you just shared, and it resonates very deeply with me because we are talking about the sort of foundations of the society we're living in and how that brutality carries all through our lives, and it's being demonstrated by these children, that they're swimming in the same violence and brutality. So it, you know, I see how it's coming out. And when I was listening to the mom talking about how her child is judged by his grades, as if his worth as an individual has to be measured before the concern about his safety is addressed. How backwards is that?
Yes.
But that's how we operate in this society. Are you worthy of my time and attention? And as a child, they do it with grades. As an adult, they use your credit score or, you know, your record or whatever. But they find a way to classify you,
Exactly.
classify your humanity, and make a determination on your value. And all of that is part of the brutal nature of this society. So I'm so thankful that we're addressing it. And I feel the power of your words. They resonate deeply. I too, I don't know the woman's name, but you definitely have my love and support, even though we haven't met. And I hear the cry of your heart. And I'm really grateful that you spoke. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I add something else, Ron? I was thinking about
You can't down on one condition. Quit asking me that. Everybody have a right to talk. You don't have to ask me that. You don't have to say, "Can I talk?" Just say, "Ron, I got something to add."
Okay. I was thinking about what you said when you said accountability, and I was thinking about Cain and Abel, and when he said, I am my brother's keeper, and I thought about something that me and Pastor Richard talked about when I had my son and he started going to school, and he reminded me of something that I went through when I went to school, because when I was in ninth grade, I was getting bullied and didn't tell anybody about it. And so one Sunday, this is when I was going to Pastor Richards was my pastor, and like all the older men would stand outside the church after Sunday school and before church started, and they would just sit out there and talk. And so they would make the young men get away from them because they were talking about stuff they didn't want us to hear. And so me being a nosy kid, I'm in ninth grade, and I see one of the men, he pulls a gun out. He shows everybody the gun. He's like, look what I just got, fellas. And so he had the gun. He showed him the gun. He went back, and before church got started, he went and put it back in his glove box. Now, I was getting bullied. When we went, I'm sitting in church, and I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do about this bullet? I went to his glove box. I left our church, went to the glove box, stole his gun out of his glove box, and put it under my dad's seat. Went to school the next morning with intention to use the gun. Had my book bag on, had the gun in my book bag. He came up to me like he did every day, ready to bully me. I got my hand on the gun, I pulled the trigger, and the gun did not go off. I was terrified the rest of the day. I came home, I immediately called Reverend Richard. I said, I know he's getting ready. I'm going to get my tail beat by him, my daddy, the man I stole the gun from, everybody. Reverend Richard said, I'll call you right back. Reverend Richard came, got set up all down. And he chewed out the man. And then he chewed me out for not coming to him and telling him. And from that day forward, they not only dealt with me, but they dealt with the people bullying me. And that was something I took when my son was born, because I said, I can't just save my son and not save everybody else. Because if I got my son on the right path and all these other kids are living and doing whatever they want to do, he still got to be around them. So I got to affect their lives just as much, and when I can, as I do his, because we are all connected and we're all in it together, and I am my brother's keeper. And so not only do we need to stand in the gap for the child being bullied, we got to stand in the gap for the child that's doing the bullying, because they need it. And in most cases, they need it more than the child that's being bullied, because it's something, they're missing things that we don't have. We're trying, like the child is not being bullied, parents care, the parent is involved, all these things, but the child on the other side is the total opposite. They need that energy the most. And if we can change their lives, that will affect everybody else, because the child is being bullied, that probably not the only child that child is bullying. He probably does it all day, because the kid that bullied me, he bullied everybody associated with me and anybody that looked like me or anybody that was different. He just went through the school forever. And eventually, by the end of the year, that kid had been expelled. And when I found out the day that kid got expelled from school when I was in high school, that was the happiest day I had in my entire life at school. I was so glad. I was like, God, I've been waiting on this forever. But it took that. But at the same time, somebody still needed to help him even after he got out, because he's going through so many things as well. So that's all.
Can I ask you something? Whatever happened to him?
He ended up eventually going to prison, and now I think he's dead. Unfortunately, I think he's dead now. He's an ancestor now.
Something violent happened? Or you don't know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm violent.
Okay. Great responsibility, y'all. Wow. One of the things I don't know if I mentioned this to Kathy the other day, we were talking, but I mentioned it to Pastor. Some days I get overwhelmed with gratitude. And today I thank the ancestors for bringing this to our attention. I thank them for our journey. And I thank them for giving us wisdom and teaching us about consciousness and how to value life and how to value each other and those we don't know, and understanding spiritual things and keeping those things in our hearts rather than materialism. So it is with all of that that we hear, and my gratitude is extended to you guys as well, that we are one. And you have no idea sometimes how much I lean on you without calling all of you. There are times I have to make phone calls, but if you have to, please feel free to do so. We are one with this. And we are not close. We are not standing outside a door or something. We are in the midst of a spiritual battle, and you are the weapon. Your spirit, your heart, your love. Your weapon is love. It is compassion. And that's who we are. So nothing can take that. Nothing can change that. But I'm grateful for us, and I'm grateful for this. And I'm sure we'll talk about this at some other point. But thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your energy. Is there anything else to grab our attention?
I have another question, Ron, but I think
okay,
it's best to answer that question on Monday.
Well, okay. We'll answer it on Monday then. And hopefully, well, I know Pastor will be back Monday. And because he had some insight into his experiences on Wednesday and Thursday that I wanted him to share with us as well. So yeah, we look forward to Monday. Okay. Thanks, y'all. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.
Ron, would you hold on a moment?
Yes, of course.